Pete Souza Show, presented by Slovacix. We are here getting ready to close it out going into the weekend. I got a hoops game at Utah, Arizona State and Utah, two teams that are like, they wish they could probably go back to the Pac-12 and reignite a rivalry there between the two of them. Utah, like we said, fired their coach. We talked about that earlier in the week. Craig Smith's gone. The interim guy is like in an impossible situation. But, you know, there's a lot of opportunity, right? Josh Eilert is the interim at Utah. On the other side, Bobby Hurley, who every year it feels like he's got 9 lives. He had a ton of talent this year. It just did not work out. He dismissed a guy from the team last week, BJ Freeman, who was their leading scorer. So two teams just trying to figure it out. Playing in a huge conference in an important game for the two of them, but you know, two teams that would have definitely much rather had it go a different way this season. So that's what I got going on Saturday. Leave for that game today, so we started the show up a little early. One of the reports I read when I got up this morning was you can't get away from the Luka trade. You just can't. You know, I loved Frank Iasola had a tweet. Frank Iasola, obviously a great basketball writer, covered the Knicks for many years, and you know him on a national level on Sirius Radio. He's always on ESPN. He'll fill in on PTI. He retweeted a story, or he retweeted reports of a story in The Athletic. You know, The Athletic did a story about Luka, and again, this was before he played against the Lakers, and the story came out, you know, right before that game, and it was basically like the Lakers were worried about Luka's drinking and hookah smoking, you know, and that came out, and Frank Isola simply said something. We said to the effect, wow, like Dallas did so great on this trade and they love it so much that they still find a way to leak information to the media about how much of a shithead Luka Doncic was when he was playing for him. And Isola was like, by the way, he did take your team to the NBA Finals last year, right? Like, this is not like Michael Ray Richardson playing for the New Jersey Nets in 1982, doing coke all night and not showing up for a week, you know? Or who was it? Spencer Haywood threatening to kill his coach when he was at the Lakers because he went on a coke bender, and he was literally hiring like hitmen to kill his coach, which he got sober later and he made an amends, if we're being fair. But Spencer was out of his mind on crack and cocaine for a very long time. And we're not talking about that with Luka Doncic, is what I'm saying. I don't want to get sidetracked. But this is like every so often you're going to hear this now. Get ready for it. As the Mavs do terrible and the Lakers make a run at the title, like you will see these little plants, right? They'll plant these articles at certain times that Luka was, you know, who knows? But I'm telling you, if it was that bad, if it was really, really that bad, we would know more about this. Like, if they were worried about his conditioning long term and it was basically like Luka is a stock and we're selling because we think we see the future, just own it, dude. Own it. But, you know, continuing to disparage this dude makes the organization, you know, the organization just continues to look bad. And of course they can turn it around. It happens a lot. But, boy, have they dug themselves a very deep hole right now, the Mavericks have. And one of the reasons they were able to dig that hole is because one of the facilitators of this trade, and there weren't many, was Jeannie Buss. Jeannie Buss is the managing partner of the LA Lakers. And, you know, somehow, some way, when this trade was brought to her from Rob Pelinka, who, by the way, she has kept employed under, you know, there have been some circumstances there where it's been tough. Media's been tough on Rob. The Lakers have had down years. She's believed in him. She's kept that position for him going. And now he runs basketball operations for the Lakers. Remember, at first it was Rob and Magic, and then they got LeBron together to come to LA. They won a championship. I don't care where it was. If it was in a bubble or if it was on Mars, the Lakers won the championship. And they did it with LeBron and they did it with Anthony Davis. And after a couple of so-so situations, they've done it again. They've got another star playing in Los Angeles. And you can say, you know, a different owner may have not kept that information close to the vest like she needed to. She did. And she deserves credit. Jeannie Buss has done an amazing job running the LA Lakers. And when you talk about the NBA, right, wrong, or indifferent, it's a man's world. and she has gone into that man's world when she was a young kid working for her father, right? I mean, she worked in all kinds of different aspects. She ran the tennis team, right? There was a professional tennis team in LA. She ran the Forum for her father. Eventually, she ran the business side of the Lakers. And when her dad died, Dr. Jerry Buss, he left her in charge. A lot of dudes in that family that are his sons, right? She left her in charge of the business and Jimmy in charge of the basketball. And she had the ability to override Jimmy's decisions. And guess what? Eventually she did. He wasn't doing a good job, and she blew her brother out of the business. And she kicks ass, dude. And she is again now in a situation where her organization, her team, she has the Lakers back, front and center. And that is a job, by the way, where you are constantly under fire. So congrats to her. I know the new show came out, Running Point. It's on Netflix. I'll definitely watch it. I didn't want to force Christy to watch it last night because I load her up with so much sports anyways. So I gave her a break. But, yeah, you got to give props to Jeanie Buss. And also props to a friend of her husband, right? Friend of the Payoff. Jay Moore came on the Payoff. Jay Moore is awesome. Jay and I obviously have spoken on here. And then also we have a ton of mutual friends because that's where my brother got sober, and he's sober out there with a lot of the same guys. So lucky to have, have him come across the bow and be a part of our lives here doing the Payoff with us. You can find that, by the way, on the Payoff with Pete, Stories of Sobriety. That's on the Rogue Media channel. So if you want to hear Jay Moore talk about sobriety, there you go. Funny thing about Jay Moore is he was so out of it before he got sober. This is my favorite story. He was doing a podcast. He was addicted to Adderall all day, all long, was out of his mind. And his agent sat him down and said, hey, tomorrow in the podcast, on the podcast, which you do out of your home studio, the Wu-Tang Clan is gonna be dropping by. So they're gonna, we need you to sleep at home tonight because the Wu-Tang Clan is gonna come by to do a podcast with you at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And Jay says it like this. He says he was so out of it that he truly believed that the Wu-Tang Clan, 7, 8 guys, who he said in his own words, I'm guessing the Wu-Tang Clan is probably not morning people, but all of them collectively are going to show up at my house to do a podcast with me at 8 a.m. He said that was not the Wu-Tang Clan. It was an intervention that was planned for me. He woke up to that. But that was eventually how he got sober. One more thing before we wrap. I got bad news for Warriors fans. It ain't going to last, okay? The Warriors right now, 7-1 since they have obtained Jimmy Butler. Draymond Green was walking around All-Star break, pounding his chest, saying that we're going to go to the NBA Finals. They are playing so well now that they're a game and a half out of the 6th spot. And when you're a game and a half out of the 6th spot, that's huge because you get to 6 and you're out of the play-in situation. I believe that this is a finite deal. This happens often, right? When you make a trade for a guy and your team, puts it into second gear, third gear, let's go. We're rolling, we're moving and grooving, we've won. And then all of a sudden, that loses its luster. Like, don't talk to me about this trade right now. Talk to me about this trade in the middle of May. It's the end of February, okay? That's when we'll know how well this trade works. Jimmy Butler has got to coexist now with Draymond Green, with Steph Curry, with Steve Kerr, and some of those bigger personalities, Draymond in particular, you can clash with, man. And I believe that some of that clashing will start to take place when things go sideways. And the issue with Jimmy Butler now is he can't play the way he used to. It's one thing to be the alpha and to MF guys and tell them what they're doing and what they're not doing on a team where you are the most professional, right? On a team where you do work the hardest in practice. Like, you go now to the Golden State Warriors, like, that situation is in place. And although they've had some rough years recently, it's still an organization with a lot of pros, and they've done it a certain way for a long time. If I look into my crystal ball, I don't believe this is sustainable because I believe that the Warriors have a way of doing things, and Jimmy Butler has a way of just being Jimmy Butler, where that overwhelming, like I wish, and I will say this to my dying day, and I said it at the time, The Sixers made a horrible decision. They literally chose between Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler, and they chose Jimmy Butler or Ben Simmons. I mean, that was the worst move. The organization was at a fork in the road at that point in time, and they went the wrong way. Like, you need a Jimmy Butler on that team, right? Especially at that juncture in his career 5-6 years ago, where he can hold guys like Joel Embiid accountable, right? Joel Embiid, of course he was working behind the scenes to get Jimmy Butler out of there. Jimmy Butler kept him accountable. Like, so what do? You get Jimmy Butler out, you do whatever you want, and Ben Simmons looks like the bad guy, only for so long, right? So I think that Golden State, this is short money right here. And I think if you look at these two organizations who just made major trades, obviously the Lakers more major, I think I'll put the Lakers up against Golden State any day of the week right now with Luka Doncic. And also, one of the exciting things about the Lakers is the way that LeBron is responding to Luka being there. And Luka is not the alpha type guy. On the court, yeah, LeBron is like, I'm deferring to you. It's your team. But off the court, everybody knows that LeBron's a guy, and so does Luka. And Luka doesn't care. That's important. So, Scott, you got anything else? All right, please bear with me. Let's get a promo in. What do we got?
I wasn't ready. I've had highlights ready for this for give me a second.
Yeah. No, we got a second.
I want to tell you about somebody real quick if we've got a minute.
Yeah, I would love for you to tell me about somebody. So please bear with me. It's Scotty's podcast. It's coming back in March, which is exciting because March starts tomorrow.
I was going to say it comes back in 10 days.
9 days.
9 days. Please bear with me. We'll be live Sunday, March 9th at 6 p.m. We'll be live from this studio. Please bear with me. It's a huge comeback stream. I'm looking for something, so I'm a little
take your time.
Huge comeback stream. Terrence Ganaway, former football player for Baylor, outstanding
friend of the show here. We've had Terrence on, thanks to you.
Great friend of mine is going to be my co-host. That March 9th stream, Travis Corley, who hosted the show for 2 years, will be here. Zach Burke will be here. Terrence will be here. My friend Michael Bartlemay, frequent contributor. People
will be here in studio.
They will all be here in studio. And then we have about 10 former Baylor football players set to appear. We're going to celebrate their careers and talk to them about what's going on and why their era was the best or why they enjoyed playing at Baylor when they did.
Yeah.
And then the big thing we're doing is we're having a tournament, a March Madness tournament to determine the greatest Baylor football player of all time. So that's what we're doing March 9th. We did drop a bonus episode Tuesday because I said it was going to be a 68-player bracket, just like the 68-team tournament.
Yeah.
So we have some play-in games. And I want to show you,
Let's see.
Pete, these highlights because you've probably never heard of this guy. But I think I told you about
a jump ball, contested catch.
Free at the 20.
I did not mean to the volume.
I mean,
This is live on YouTube.
So who are we talking about?
This is Dominique Ziegler.
You told me about him.
Played wide receiver from 2003 to 2006 for Baylor and was so freaking dynamic. His numbers aren't crazy because he played at Baylor when Baylor was a perennial 4-win team. But just watch this guy. Watch this catch. This dude, I got all these off YouTube, man. This dude was my favorite player to watch.
So by the way, I'm doing some background right now on him. I got his Wikipedia page up. He went to Harker Heights.
Yes, local kid, and currently coaches at Killeen High, I believe. But
all right, tell me about him. Like what made him such an amazing player?
Here's what I'm telling you about Ziegler. I just showed some of his highlights. Ziegler was athletic as hell, was the best I've ever seen at Baylor. Jump ball. I mean, like so many of those. Yeah, and so many of these highlights are Sean Bell has 2 seconds to throw because there's no offensive line. So he retreats and just throws it up, and Ziggy's going to come down with the football, like every time. Like that's the kind of player he was. And the reason I bring him up is because Tuesday we dropped a bonus episode. We have these play-in games, and Ziegler is one of the play-in players who you can go vote. And the description of the video has a link. You can go vote for Dominique Ziegler right now if you think he belongs.
So Ziegler, by the way, is
the bracket.
He played in the NFL.
Yes.
For the 49ers, right? It was undrafted, but he
played
in 11 regular season games, I'm looking here, in 2010. I mean, this is a guy who contributed in the NFL.
Yeah.
But he's trying to break through to make the field.
Correct. So the tease is, I say that to say, if you're a big Dominique Ziegler fan, you need to go vote for him. But also, Ziegler is like on the bubble.
Yeah.
Ziegler's on the bubble, and I think he's one of the best players I've ever watched. So think about the legacy of great players from Baylor over the last 100 years.
Who's he going up against?
He is going up against a guy named CJ Wilson, who played at the same time
Okay.
and was a corner. CJ also played in the NFL for longer than Ziegler did. CJ was a good NFL defensive back, played for the Cowboys briefly.
Uh-huh.
He had 9 interceptions in 2 years as a starter at Baylor. And I will tell you, he is also on the bubble because Baylor's history at defensive back is shockingly deep.
Really?
Shockingly deep. So it's Dominique
So
Ziegler
who's- so,
versus
let me see.
CJ Wilson
Okay.
is one of our 4 play-in matchups.
So you're telling me right now, okay, so I'm looking at CJ
Pull that
Wilson.
microphone a little closer to your
Sorry,
face.
I'm looking at
No, you're
CJ Wilson now. He played for the Panthers too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he played for the longest for the Panthers. He did some time with the
He's
Cowboys.
from Terrell, Texas, home of Jamie Foxx.
And he is also currently a high school coach.
Wow. This is really cool. Wow. It says his cousin, Lindsey Pipkins. That's okay. I know that name. I've also played in the NFL. All right. So this guy, I'm telling you right now, I got Ziegler.
Okay. So go
Straight
vote. Pete's going to
Yeah.
vote for Ziegler. There are 3 other play-in matchups.
Yeah.
You got to go watch the video on Please Bear With Me's YouTube channel
Yeah.
to see
I got
the
Ziegler.
matchups.
You
But-
sold me on Ziegler.
Okay, but here's why you should check out March 9th, because this is why this is such a fun project for me to have put together.
Yeah.
Is if you remember watching these guys play, it's like, oh, that guy was great. If you don't, you do what Pete just did, and
Yeah.
you go look at a couple of highlights, you go, oh my God, like I've never heard of this guy. He was great. And
Yeah.
and it helps all of us learn and appreciate
Yeah. You kind of
all
get to be the GM.
all these
yourself.
eras of Baylor football. Baylor has had 9 unanimous All-Americans in its history. So obviously all 9 of those guys are featured. Do your homework on Bill Glass, man. He's not in a play-in game because he was so good, but Baylor's first ever unanimous All-American, played for like 12 years in the NFL.
Really?
Was a dominant offensive lineman who also played on the defensive side of the ball.
What era?
60s?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for letting me talk about it.
Yeah, I'm in. And so you got the Please Bear With Me info. I'm going to be on one of the shows, the 23rd.
Yep.
Right?
Pete's
Yeah.
going to be with us the 23rd, so that will be the night that we go from 32 to 16. We'll figure out our Sweet 16 of players that evening. So Pete will be part of that. Yeah,
Nice.
we're gonna have a good time. Cam Stewart's going to be on March 9th. We're going to have him. Cam's coming in. Shihan Jayaraja, my friend at CBS Sports, is going to come in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're March 9th. We are doing it big, man. We are doing. It is going to be a party. It's going to be a
Nice
party.
job. All right.
Yeah,
Check
man.
that out. I'll
So-
be watching for sure, wherever the hell I am. All right. That's it for today. We'll be back with you Monday. We're talking baseball, by the way. Nick Pick's going to join us on Monday, baseball writer. We're going to dive into what exactly is happening. I mean, spring training's been in full effect, and I watched Major League last week. So this week, I guess it was. So it's time to talk about baseball. I'm ready. Have a great weekend, everybody.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love extra